friend Kelvin here, all the way from Nigeria. We're going to talk artificial intelligence, but before we do, let's thank our sponsors. That's Thrivous, Geoprotectors, and Nootropics, $5 all the way up to $160 worth of free Thrivous. Check out in the link description for that deal. Also, David Kelly, I Am Transhuman, for sponsoring this episode. Kelvin, how are you, man? I haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing really well.
Sure, I'm good.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear. And you're looking well, sir. We haven't talked in a while. You've been up to so much. I've been following your progress. You know, like royalty. You're like royalty, my man.
Yeah. I've been working around the clock.
Yeah, and how are the kids, man? How is your school? How is your classes? All that stuff.
For now, there's a lockdown, so all we are doing is about virtual programs. We teach them online. We run tutorials for them online, so everything is on lockdown.
Yeah. But you have been. I have seen you with the classes just before this crisis, doing great stuff, and we always encourage you to continue that. Also, other news, you're going to be at TAF's conference. What's your topic at TAF's, and what day are you going on at TAF's?
I'm on Thursday, the 23rd. That's about 4:15 p.m. in Nigeria. And I'll be talking about artificial intelligence, the single most important tool humanity has conceived.
Wow, that's a huge topic, sir. And, we're going to talk about that right now. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence, the single most important idea that humanity has ever seen. Why did you choose this topic to talk about at TAF's?
Yes, artificial intelligence is so important. It's our new electricity. And it's so important that it's more important than fire and electricity combined together. So says Google CEO. We have come to realize that artificial intelligence is what is powering the fourth industrial revolution, and that Africa must be carried along. So as the chief promoter of artificial intelligence in Africa, my duty is to domesticate this knowledge in Africa. So that's why I travel to many places. I attend webinars, I attend workshops. We do trainings here and there to tell people that, look, our old ways of doing things cannot work. Let's look at road construction, for instance. The Onitsha Bridge is under construction, the new Onitsha Bridge. They've been talking about constructing it over a decade now, but nothing is happening, nothing much. But today, with technology available to us with AI, we could do that bridge in 8 hours. So it's time for Africa to rethink. So my message will be telling them about this monstrous AI, telling them how important is this AI, how it can transform everything. Do you know with technology, China was able to lift nearly 1 billion people out of abject poverty? Africa can do the same. Our old ways of doing things cannot work. Our old ways of feeding the people by cultivating farms and rearing animals cannot feed the people. Today, with technology available, 3D printing, and plant-based milk, billions are being generated. It's time to rethink. That's the whole idea. That's where we are coming from.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for Africa to, what we talk about here, the theory on detonation, it's to skip its development curve, to jump ahead. You know, Nigeria, for example, the country you're in, Kelvin, it's going to have 1 billion people by the end of the century. That's projected to have around 1 billion people by the end of the century. So that's on one hand, that's a lot of people. But, on the other hand, technology will enable them to be busy, to be happy, to be wealthy, we hope, because 1 billion people living in poverty it doesn't sound fun. So Africa has to do something now. They have to listen to you now and try and get some wealth secured and some efficiencies. We talked about chicken farming last time, but we also talked about the fourth industrial revolution and how this will change everything. I've seen you've shared some great technological innovations on road construction, where you can get trains and different things coming in to enhance the transportation network there in Africa. But absolutely, this is very exciting, and we can do things for Africa that just wasn't possible 100 years ago, but we absolutely will be now a sustainable development of economic, social, economic, social, and political justice for Africa.
Sure, except we innovate, we may eventually be forced to seek for applying for it. There is no two ways about it. If you look at our infrastructure today and our pre-colonial ways of doing roads, construction of roads, even our farming, even our educational system, it cannot compete with the modern day technology. Today we have controversies about 5G. Meanwhile, China is already heading to 6G. Where will all this leave us? It will leave us in abject poverty. You see, my first job is to go and not African. I want to talk to them. I want to see how religion has been a barrier to them learning things. We don't gag knowledge. I was privileged to be in a Union Bank event in Lagos last year with the topic Education Without Boundary. We shouldn't gag knowledge in Africa. People should be allowed to explore things. When the white man is going to space, we should go to space. Something will come out of it. When China moves from 5G to 6G, what happens to us? We are still in 2G, 3G. What are the advantages of 5G? Autonomous driving cars. Death could soon be something of the past. We can actually end all these things. But when I tell people things like this, the fear is that, it will not happen. Probably it will take 50 years. My chairman in the Nigerian Society of Engineers was telling me the other day, how do you talk about AI when there's no electricity? You get the electricity first before you talk about AI. I said, no. How do you see electricity? Something so complex? No. Today we're talking about a one-world national grid. Excess power being produced in Europe can be brought here. Some of the robots we use in China today can be charged in less than 30 seconds. So we don't see electricity with big power plants. We should think of micro plants. We should think of batteries. We could think of the Tesla. Our aim is to bring in these great companies down to Africa. How do we do it? By creating a futuristic school. That's the idea behind the Ogba Educational Clinic. This year, Ivanka Trump was talking to us. He told us that we have to train the workers for the future job. How do we do it? The educational system is jinxed. It has been like this for the past 200 years. Everything being taught in school can actually be done by the robot. We are going to the age of the machines, the rise of the machines, and Africa must not be left out. We must prepare for this. So what we do in the clinic at the Ogba Educational skills.
Can you just hang on a sec? Can you just tell us what the? Hang on, we'll get it back in a sec. This is very, very interesting. Kelvin's coming back in a sec. We're talking about the clinic. We'll hang on to that on the line for 1 second.
Happening. Africa must not be left.
All right, hang on, Kelvin. You dropped out for a second. Go back to what does the clinic do? What does the educational clinic do? You dropped out for a second there.
The educational clinic has been poised now for future job skills.
Good.
Train kids for future job skills. We prepare them for the kind of change that the fourth industrial revolution is looking for. The kind of job skills that the fourth industrial revolution is looking for. Because there are lots of disruption as a result of AI. Construction jobs are going to go. Educational system is going to change. A lecturer, a professor in Canada can be teleporting in the streets of Warri and be teaching right there in my clinic and even teaching our local languages. These things are possible because of the kind of technology we have gotten today. So the clinic is being reorganized for that future job skills training, in line with what Ivanka Trump advised us at the last World Economic Forum in Davos. He said we must prepare the workers for the future job skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I watched the White House very closely, and I was aware of that. I also was aware she came down there to talk. But, the fourth industrial revolution is going to be interesting. And, you're talking about roads and you're talking about agricultural infrastructure and all this other stuff. But that can be so easily done nowadays by using technology, right? So really, it's talking about...
With the technology available today... Yeah. With the technology available today, road can be constructed within hours.
Yeah.
Bridges can be done within hours. There's what we call the 8 hours. Nigeria, you construct road for 20 years, for 15 years, and the road will still not be good. And you know the challenge, you vote in maybe 2 billion naira, or which is about 100 million or so. You vote in $100 million for the project, and after 10 years that project is taking over 300 million or 500 million dollars. So you can see, but when we use technology, what will happen is that road can be constructed within hours, and inflation will not affect it.
Yeah, so
Then you save life.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't have to talk about building, previous industrial capacities. We can actually talk about the Internet of Things, cybersecurity, building the infrastructure of the future, building the internet, building 5G, building 6G, and getting Nigerians, we shouldn't be learning. We should be learning how to code. Learning how to code is super important. This is the job skills of the future. There are a lot of coding languages, and this should be part of a normal normal diet of learning different languages, right? I mean, Nigerians are already proficient in a couple of different languages because you have all the different countries around you, and they all speak different dialects. Plus, everybody generally speaks English. Well, a lot of Nigerians speak English already. Just add in some coding to the mix, right?
Of course, that's what we are doing in the Ogba Educational Clinic. We've been training them on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, and machine learning most of recent. But the whole idea is to see that we have come to see there are challenges in people learning it in this part of this country. One, there's a problem with power. There's a problem with data, which is very expensive. I understand that most of them don't have laptop. Google is trying to do some things to train 10,000, but it's not really working. That's why we have to come in to... I decided to create a special centers where people who don't have laptops can come and learn. People who are not too buoyant financially to buy data, we offer them free data. And also we have generators, standby generators, so that they can work and learn for free. So that's the idea behind the Ogba Educational Clinic.
That's amazing.
Yes, I've even got so many awards for doing that, but I intend to do more. I want to drive this change. My name is Ogba. Traditionally, when translated from my local language, means power. If I go further, I will tell you that my mother will tell me that Doja Onya Viogba, that in the days of tribulation, we cry for a strong man. I am bitter. I am angry. I want to drive this change. I want to wake up my African brethren. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The 4-eye arrow is here. You cannot be sleeping. You cannot be passive. You must be active. You must be proactive. You must be seen to be doing things. And you know the beautiful things about AI is as much as you invent, you begin to reap it. Its knowledge is no longer gagged. It's no longer for one super rich nation. If you see small countries like Burma or Rwanda that are just coming out of isolation, they're already doing great with AI. We can do the same. With the right investment, we can do the same. Too much politics. I want us to remove those politics. Let's face it.
Yeah. So
let's get the scientists on board.
Let's talk about politics for a second. So, what is this? Is this national? Is this a national AI project that you want to see, or do you want to see something like the African Union assisting in these projects?
Beyond the African Union, I even want to target the UN. I'm working right now of getting to the World Economic Forum. This is a movement. You see, the awareness about AI here is very low. If you go to other neighboring countries, they are not any better. But I'm moving. We've started the fire here in Nigeria. We've moved to Ghana. We've been to Morocco. We've been to Ethiopia. We've been to UAE. We'll keep going. The message must be sent. You see, my idea is to get young people to be smart and get thinking and say, how do we go about this? Understand these programming skills, teach them, and prepare them for the 4th eye arrow so that this change can be done by them. by these young children.
Yeah, this is the liberation. This is the sort of revolutionary spirit I think that Africa wants, because Africans don't really want to be dependent on another neo-colonial power, whether that's China or India or the United States or Europe or as anywhere else. Or Saudi Arabia. I mean, they want to be independent and thinking ahead of the game, and they can do it. They've done it before. It's just people like you that has to say, everybody, let's do this now. We have to get smart, like the old movie, Get Smart. And it can be done. It's not impossible. It can be done. It just takes some effort, some education, some coordination, some money, and a lot of drive and passion from individual actors and organizations such as TAFs.
Yes. I strongly believe that when a man makes up his mind on anything, the whole universe conspires to make it happen. I may not have all the resources I need. I may not have all the intellect I need. But I do know that this young man standing here, whose name is Ogba, is boiling with fire. And this fire will keep moving. We'll keep driving this force. We'll keep telling people. I keep talking to people. I keep telling them that AI is this, AI is this. Many have called me noisemakers. Many say I talk too much. Many say, oh, these are impossible. But with each and every new day, somebody is calling me and saying, wow, I've seen your work. I believe what you're saying. The message must go round. Enough of all this politics. Africa cannot get out of poverty with this present leadership. Africa cannot succeed with this present way of thinking. The only way for us to succeed is for us to begin to invest in AI. And if we do that in the next 10 years, we can lift at least 500 million people out of abject poverty. But if we continue with this our modern ways of farming, building of road, I think we don't have a future. And I would not be part of that.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. I mean, there is you can be very bullish on Africa, especially in terms of it catching up in a relative sense, especially in terms of massive infrastructure improvements and stuff like that. But it's thinking about a step ahead. And when African people see SpaceX or they see Google or they see some of these huge companies making these big innovations, they don't have to be jealous. They should be listening to people like you and say, we can achieve that too. We can land a man on the moon. We can go to Mars. We can put satellites in space. We can have a Google type company here in Africa. We can have biotech companies here in Africa. We can have a company as large and hopefully better run than Monsanto. We could, we can liberate ourselves from the tyranny of the oil, gas, and De Beers, and have our own commodities projects. We can have nuclear power. We can have we can build CRISPR-Cas20. We can do whatever we want, and I think this is something that's exciting.
Sure. But the fact is that we must work on their psyche first. We must work in such a way that to tell them that these great advances in technology are not signs of the end time. Because I think first, the church has to be properly educated. We have to disabuse their minds from religion. We have to stop religion from gagging us to think. Because I remember when the advent of the ATM card came, many wouldn't want to be part of it because they felt it was a sign of successes. So in Africa, the problem is complex, but I'm up to it. I'm up to it.
So
when
religion...
I talk to people that, yes, the religion is a big factor. When I talk to people that aging is a disease and can be tackled, and that we don't really have to die, people see me, what's this young man? Has he gone to join some occult or is a kind of society man? I said, no. The World Health Organization has declared aging a disease, and we should begin to treat it. So first, they must accept that aging is a disease. Then before they think of begin to invest on it. But when they don't even see it as a disease, they see it as a necessary, and then there's a bigger problem. So first, I started with telling them it is a disease and it can be reversed. Now, when we talk about things like this, and then the elites among them will be able to make up some money and then travel abroad and then get these drugs and be younger. Just like the elites were the first to get the ATM card before the poor people started getting it. But don't inhibit the poor from accessing this knowledge. That's my idea.
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? Just the educational aspect, and your
That's why
organization.
the clinic keep evolving to handle such issues as they come up. Every day, I'm always talking on different platforms, disabusing their mind. It's time for Africa to rethink.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is, if you're going to have an educational platform and reform, they have to have big goals. You can't have education without big goals, and that's what you're presenting here with AI, with the fourth industrial revolution. There's a lot of job opportunities in the fourth industrial revolution, and as you advance in the fourth industrial revolution, the spillover benefits everywhere back, be that, in any other technological sphere that will help and benefit Africans, will naturally evolve anyway. So, there'll be massive innovations in AI agriculture, innovations in AI health, innovations in AI, everything, transport and stuff.
Yeah.
But some of these will be unique to African issues.
We're not talking about the robo doctor. You see, the basic thing Africans must know is that they must be prepared to reskill. With AI coming on Steam, reskilling becomes a very important option. You must be prepared as a medical doctor to go and learn new skills, because robot doctors are coming in. We're going to have RoboCop, and even a robotic lawyer. The future education is going to change. So our people must be prepared to learn and relearn. That's why we say the illiterates of the 21st century will not be people who cannot read and write, but with people who cannot learn, unlearn everything they have learned and relearn new things. So there's going to be lots of job losses. That's one of the places people don't like about me. They say I'm too brutal when I say this. I say AI will take away lots of jobs, will wipe a lot of jobs out, but then it will create some new jobs. And now, who are those who will be qualified for the new jobs? Are only people who are ready to work with AI, the era of the machines. So if I go down memory lane, I will talk about Steve Hawking. This is one of the greatest scientists that have ever walked the face of the earth. He predicted there will exist the superhumans. My hero talked about merging you with machines. And when I say things like that, people begin to wonder, is this man going up? Is he mad? Or what is he trying to say? I don't want to be merged with the machine. But I tell you the truth, the Chinese are not going to wait for you. So if the Chinese child has been genetically edited such that he's become so intelligent and he's negotiating with me, a Nigerian, and he knows that I'll definitely want to bargain at and stop at $300, and he knows that before me, he has a higher bargaining power. So these are the problems we're talking about. How then do you live in a world with a smarter Chinese man than you are? How then would you live in a world where there's a flu and the Chinese are not affected, but you are affected? How then do you live in a world whereby the American kids cannot get HIV/AIDS, cannot fall sick of malaria because it has been genetically modified? And the African kid is dying of tuberculosis, malaria, simple illness. If we continue to live in this kind of world, then there is no hope for Africa. My gospel is embrace technology. Technology is not evil. It doesn't destroy your faith. It doesn't make you less a Christian. It doesn't make you less a Muslim. You must embrace technology.
Yeah, and I mean, Muslims and Christians have always embraced technology in a certain way. I mean, Muslims and Christians alike both use the internet. They both use Facebook. That's a technology. They both use cars, and they use benefits of technology. So we're just talking about the next step. And we have Muslim transhuman. I mean, Muslim. The Ben Zion's talked to a Muslim, but we have Mormon transhumanists on this show all the time. because transhumanism and Mormonism are compatible. Micah Redding is a Christian transhumanist, and those guys are paving the way. These are on the frontiers of opening up the arguments of how transhumanism and Christianity or Islam or some other religions are fusible. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that African people have to know about transhumanism, but they do have to understand that technology is the way of the future, and that they have to be ready to embrace it in order just to keep up in a competitive spirit. Otherwise, they will be left out in the dark. They will be sick with diseases, and technologically, everybody else is going to be going to space, and Africa won't. That'll be a sad day. So. You're doing a great job out there, and we can Africa can do this. But you mentioned one thing I wanted to ask you: changing the African mind. Do you like with this religion idea? Do you think it's going to come through the politicians or the pastors or the education system or the world organizations, or where is the change, or does it have to be? Who is going to change the mind? Who is the most influential person to change the African mind?
You see, in Africa, the pastors and the imams
We will get him back for that answer about the African mind and who can change it. This is a really, really interesting conversation. I hope you're all enjoying it as much as I am. Africa, absolutely interesting. This is we got to assist them in this. We got to assist.
Pushing for technology all the while. As the church begin to embrace technology, they begin to see reasons with me. So they are very powerful. You can't just go to them and say you're fighting them like that. But then I think having a round table talk with them will go a long way. But I am working with the young people.
All right, hopefully we will get it back in a second. I think I understood the gist of what you were saying there, Mr. Kelvin. The churches are really, really powerful, and changing their minds, arguable, but changing young people's minds, I actually agree with that more. I think that's the smartest thing to do. Hopefully we can get him back in a second. Changing the youth. The attitudes of the youth is much more important. I would argue. All right, well that's it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if he's there.
Hello.
Hello, are you there? We are still on air. So you were saying I think you were saying that the churches are really powerful and quite influential, and changing their mind is going to be hard. I think the imams.
Yeah, the network just broke down. I just. So we know that there will be a lot of resistance. We're working
with the children, right? With the young people. The young people are the most important.
Hello. Yes,
Hello.
The church and the imams, they are very, very powerful blocks here. They are strong influencers. But then my movement started with young people, re-educating them and telling them that we could have a better future for Africa if only they change their mindsets and rethink. My people have an adage that says that he who steals from the white man can never be as great as the white man. So when I started my rejuvenation program, the whole idea is that rather than stealing from the white man, we should try to be as great as the white man so that we can be as rich as the white man. So we're getting young people to think and make them to understand that there's a new occupation that is on vogue. We call it digital nomads. They can actually be in the best cities of this world and be working remotely for different companies. I try to make them realize that getting visas is not as complicated as they think it is. You have to prove your worth to them that this is why you want to go to Europe or Canada or so. You show your good deeds, either on Facebook or LinkedIn. They check your profile and they know that you're actually doing so and so great things, and that visa will be easy. You see, people to begin to think when they see me as a young man who did and was able to achieve it, I think it goes a long way to prove to them that they too can also make it. Like I told you, I came from a very poor a background that is below average, but then I have chosen to make this struggle, and I have been making it, and I've come thus far.
We really support you, and we really appreciate your words and your encouragement and your mission too. I think it's a very valuable mission, and we really encourage you to continue. And we look forward to hearing your speech at TAFS. I will talk to you post TAFS to tell you what I liked about the speech, or what I didn't like, or or you know, my comments on the speech, and we will talk about AI after TAFS as well. So I look forward to seeing you. But in the meantime, be safe during the lockdown. Be careful, be safe, and thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. That's Kelvin. He's all the way from Nigeria to talk about why AI is so important, the fourth industrial revolution in Africa, and very exciting revelations about education in Africa and the new emerging economy because of technological change, and how we can help and how Africa can help itself navigate through some of these emerging challenges and opportunities. So we want to thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. He's going to be on TAFS. Check out that conference. Great conference. We love TAFS, the TAFS family. Big conference coming up. And you can watch Osunakachi and me for that announcement.
From the Outby Educational Clinic.
Absolutely. We'll leave that link in the description. Very, very, very cool. All right. Thank you, sir. That's Detonation, where we are putting death out of business.